Next up, we got the Army Black Knights. Of course, Jeff Monken heading into his 10th season. This one might be a little more difficult. Let's bring it up on the screen, show you what we're looking at. They went 6-6 last season. Their postgame win expectancy, though, was 7.15 and 4.85. If you remember at the beginning of last season, they were kind of throwing the ball all over the yard, and it eventually switched back to what they know best, their bread and butter, right? Rushing success last year was number 29. Their PPA per drive on offense, predicted points added per drive on offense, was number 27. Not bad. What was bad was the defense. Number 86 PPA per drive. They were number 118 in rushing and passing success allowed. Not great overall. They're number 72 in adjusted returning production, right? So a little over 61% coming back overall. Number 87 on offense, number 54 on defense. Their projected record based on win probabilities thus far, looking at all the stats, all the returning production, etc. It's 5.87 and 6.13. So let's start off with the offense. Let's talk about what this team has got going, what they don't. They brought in a new offensive coordinator. Jeff Monken is trying to change things around on offense and try something different because obviously the cut block rules have been changed. We've talked about that on the show. If you haven't, just go Google it. College football cut block rule changes. It's all over the place. So anybody that was running the triple, it's a little more difficult now, right? It's more difficult to be able to do that same thing. Thatcher was the OC at Nebraska Kearney, and they like to run the football, but they had a pretty efficient passing game as well. It was just a different way of going about the option. This team, they're going to need a quarterback. You're going to have to come up with some kind of a quarterback here. They lost their quarterbacks, Tyler Ballard and Jones. You lost the center, Connor Bishop. You lost on defense, your defensive back, Bruton, the defensive lineman, Bonsu, and of course, your outside linebacker, Andre Carter, the second. So, kind of an issue. Again, returning production is not bad, number 72, especially for a service academy. But when you look at offense, you got to find a quarterback to run Thatcher's scheme. If you're going to be efficient passing the ball, you got to have a quarterback that's capable of doing that. We'll see. Maybe Bryson Daly is the guy. But we'll see. We'll have to pay attention. They lost 98% of their pass attempts from last season. So obviously, they're still going to rely heavily on the run game. They do return 57% of their rushing yards from last year. But that passing game, they're wanting to kind of change things up. Isaiah Austin, wide receiver, 6'4", 195. He averaged 17 yards per attempt last year. That should help whoever is a quarterback. So the offense, you're going to get a lot of the same, but it's going to look differently than it has before, right? That's the biggest issue here. That their explosiveness last year was number 114. That's just not awesome. They still run a low number of plays. They try and be incredibly efficient. I get it. Moving over to the defense here. They did a good job of not allowing the explosive plays. Number 10 in the country in explosive play rate allowed. But they were number 122 in overall defensive success rate. That's not good. Again, number 118 in both rushing and passing success allowed. They lost 40% of their tackles for loss. Nate Woody, who is the DC, he was the DC for Paul Johnson's last season at Georgia Tech. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's been at Army since 2020. The secondary, I think, can be a strength here for Cam Jones and Jabari Moore, guys like that. Linebacking core is experienced. They got Carlo and Lowen back. They need the defensive line to step up. You got to be able to stop the run if you're going to run this kind of an offense, right? Key players, I mentioned Jones and Moore, the cornerbacks, the linebacker Lowen, the running backs, Riley Buchanan and Austin are going to be big. Bryson Daly, I think, is going to be the guy at quarterback. Obviously, we'll have to see. Their luck ranking last year was awful, just awful. They didn't get to go to a bowl game last year because they had 2 wins over FCS teams. You got the same issue this year on the calendar. Looking at the schedule, you got 2 FCS schools. Like, I don't know. I'm a little wary of this. They're projected favorites in 5 games. They got 5 toss-ups, and a toss-up to me is any game that is projected to be within 1 score, right? Any from 8 points all the way down to a pick 'em. Those are toss-ups to me. Their luck ranking being 115 last year is pretty mind-blowing considering the turnover margin was number 36. They were good at taking care of the ball. The ball just happened to bounce the wrong way for them several times. What goes into the luck ranking? Injury luck, turnover luck, field goals, field position, stuff like that, right? It's all over the place. Let's talk about keys to the season right quick. Heading into Monken's 10th season, and here we'll hide me for a minute so you can read it on your screen. Heading into his 10th season, it's refresh time for the offense due to cut block rule changes. They've got to find a quarterback. I mentioned that. Thatcher led the number 5 rushing offense in D2. They were still really efficient in the passing game. They got to get stops on the defense. Front 7 is going to be incredibly important. If you can't stop the run, you're going to give up big pass plays. Like you won't be able to do what you did last year. Only 5 opponents projected lower than 77th in SP+. This schedule is tough. It is incredibly tough. They need 7 wins if they beat both FCS teams. I don't think that they can get there this year. The toughest part of their schedule, if you look at it. How about this? Not the toughest part. The key part of the schedule is weeks 9 through 12. You've got UMass, Air Force, Holy Cross, and Coastal Carolina. If you want to make it to a bowl game, you probably need to win at least 3 of those. I don't know that they can do that. So my guess here is I've got them going 5-7. The win total sits at 6. The over is -120. The under is -110. I'm going with the under. I'm going 5-7. I think their ceiling is 8-4. They can surprise some teams on here. Can they beat UTSA or Syracuse? Yes. Could they beat Boston College or maybe even Troy? Yes. Can you beat Air Force or Coastal Carolina? Probably. So if the ceiling is 8-4, the floor is 3-9. Like there's a chance that some of these that I have as wins at ULM, Terry Bowden surprises a lot of teams. UMass, does Don Brown's defense figure out a way to stop the option? Navy, they've got a lot better returning production than Army does. New head coach, do they inject some life into that program? We'll see. We will see. So I am not bullish on Army this season. I think you're going to see some growing pains early. But overall, it'll be about what you expect from Army, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, 5-7 for Army for me. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.